So today we're doing a video that we did before, but it was right when we finished our van build, and things have changed in our van, and also I feel like we could have just presented it in a better way. And that video idea is to break down how much everything cost in our van build. Many people know that we have a budget van build. It was just under $6,000 Canadian to convert. And so we want to walk you through how we did that. So without further ado, let's begin.
Right off the bat, our van was $6,000 Canadian, and we bought it from a guy who bought it from an auction, and it had 337,000 kilometers on it. And all that being said, when we purchased it, it was still an ambulance. I mean, minus the sirens and stuff. It was still an ambulance on the inside back here, so we had to strip all of that out and build it out ourselves.
Okay, so all these prices are gonna be in Canadian, so I'm gonna put an American conversion on the screen for you as well. The most expensive thing in our entire kitchen was actually our fridge, and that was $539. When we were first building our van, we thought that we maybe wanted one of those like Dometic fridges that stands up, until we realized they're thousands of dollars. So this chest style fridge, while it's not perfect and we broke the handle after living in our van for over a year and a half, it works for us. And honestly, I would get a chest style fridge again if we were building another van and we want to cut the cost in that way again. And we would have saved about $250 if we hadn't installed this induction stove, which actually doesn't work in our van at all unless we're plugged into shoreline power. Anyone who knows our van knows the story. We installed this induction stove before really understanding how much power we really had. So we would have saved $250 if we had just realized that we were gonna cook mostly on a camping stove and never really on this induction stove. The other main expensive thing in our kitchen was this roof vent. It was about $330, and this is the fantastic vent. We have no regrets here.
To round up all of our costs from the hardware store, we'll call this miscellaneous. This would include things like plywood, screws, hooks, handles, just miscellaneous stuff. We get a total of $732. The biggest cost in this section would be our plywood. We bought 8 sheets totaling $304, and I know that might not sound like much now. This was like 6 months before the price of wood skyrocketed, so I think we kind of lucked out there. The plumbing is something that we'll include in this miscellaneous section as well, and that totaled $230. So between the plywood and the plumbing, those are the two most pricey things in this section.
And then the next section would naturally be everything that we put over top of those things to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing or beautiful. So this section would include our cedar paneling, the LED lights that we put in, our floor, rug, wall decorations, as well as stain and paint. Our cedar paneling was $400. It was like a lower grade cedar, so there were a lot of nuts and stuff to walk around, but we got it from a lumberyard in the small town that we were building this van in. The next most expensive thing on this list would be the stain, which is what I stained the walls with, the walls and the ceiling, as well as some other random things in our van so that it would match the walls and the ceiling. So after buying multiple tins of stain, it was about $105 in the end. And you'll see here that our flooring was $0, and that's because we were so lucky to get our flooring for free from a family friend. I feel like that's a lot of F's.
On top of our van, we have 630 watts of solar, which is just two 315 watt panels. They're massive panels. Price of these, as well as the price of the solar controller and the wiring that goes between the panels down to the controller, total just over $1,000. Speaking of the solar panels and our entire electrical system, something that we kind of messed up on was our battery bank. I didn't know a whole lot about batteries. I was looking into 6-volt batteries, we were looking into lithium batteries, but our van came with 2 deep cycle AGM batteries, which we actually left over the winter so they had cracked. Me not knowing much, I just decided to stick with the same system, like the same size batteries and the same type of batteries that were in there. And the total cost of those 2 batteries was $950 for the pair. And the last component of our electrical system is our inverter. Again, because we stuck with the deep cycle AGM batteries, it doesn't have a lot of power to run a big inverter. My mistake was, when I was building the van, was the 2 solar panels. I thought, hey, bigger solar panels, you can have a bigger inverter because it'll keep your batteries charged, but that's not the case. So after doing a little bit of math and learning some equations online, we realized that 800 watts is the max size inverter that we could go with. So to be safe, we went with a 600 watt inverter, which cost us only about $190. I have seen people run much bigger inverters on like 1 deep cycle AGM batteries. It's not something that I would recommend doing, but I have seen people do it. So before you go into a van build, just make sure that you're doing your research and you really have a good understanding of how electrical works. So that way, when you're on the road, you have all the power that you need and you are fully satisfied.
The next room or section of our van would be our bedroom. And we have shared this before on our channel, but unlike some people who like sell their house to live in a van, we did not have a house before we lived in a van. We were traveling internationally before, so we had just been living out of backpacks. So this entire breakdown was not only us building the van, but also furnishing the van. And all that being said, our bedroom was about $182. Also, one more thing to note, we didn't pay for a mattress. We got this one for free from a family member as well. And this is a full-size mattress. It's much thicker, I think, than if we were to buy a mattress ourselves. But again, we had one available to us, so we cut costs there.
The last room that we'll talk about now is the bathroom. Not really a room, I guess. It's like a section next to our kitchen. The total cost of all of our bathroom utilities is $193. The bulk of that coming from our toilet, which was $153. We also have like a little pee bottle that we use sometimes. And we also have a solar shower, which is hidden somewhere under this bed, and we never use it because we have a gym membership and that's typically where we go. Although if we were living off grid, I'm sure the solar shower is something that we would use more often.
So in total, our van was $5,809. Woo! And we've been living in it for a year and a half.
For the build, it was $5,809.
Yeah. That's what's always funny to me when people are like, oh, trust fund kids. I'm like, I used to spend way more than that on rent.
Yeah.
And this has been our home. And this has been our home for a year. And this has been our home for a year and a half now. But no, really, I think that we did pretty well. Again, like we lucked out with like a free floor and the price of plywood
Mattress.
had free mattress. The price of plywood had not like completely skyrocketed yet.
Yeah.
And there are ways to build a van for cheaper than that, as well as way more expensive ways to build a van as well.
So one place that I wish we had saved a bit of money on was our induction stove. We mention it in a lot of videos, but again, we didn't know a whole lot about electrical coming into this. So that was our first mistake, was the induction stove. We would probably replace it with a propane stove if we were to redo it now. And another place that we saved money was using C and D grade plywood, as well as I think it's C or D grade cedar. So that definitely helped and saved us some money.
The first one was a regret. The second thing is a way that we save money.
Yeah.
But another like regret that we have is leaving the batteries over the winter. We've explained this on our channel before, but when we first bought the van, we went over budget on paying for the van because we only wanted a van that was $4,000 and we ended up spending $6,000. So we didn't really have the money to start our build. And so we left our van for the winter and we didn't think to store the batteries properly. If you're ever in the same situation, take your batteries out and keep them warm over the winter because our batteries were cracked and we would have saved nearly $1,000 if we hadn't done that.
So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you wanted to support us, we have merch down below this video. We also have a Patreon, which you can subscribe to, which is ultimately just a way to support us. And yeah, thank you guys for following along. We hope you check out some of our other videos and find those helpful as well. We've been at this for a long time and we think that we have lots of knowledge to bestow upon you. So thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it and we'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.
Bye, just don't come to us with electrical questions because we still don't really know.
Bye.